If I could start with you, Professor, what is the point at which you think one of the big sponsors, Coke or McDonald's, would actually feel that it needed to dissociate itself from FIFA?
Well, I think if it continued to be the case that FIFA denies any systematic wrongdoing and doesn't undertake a systematic restructuring of the organisation, I think they might have to rethink it. But these brands have held on for a very long time in the face of a lot of evidence of wrongdoing. So I'm not totally convinced that anything very much is going to kick them out.
Well, suppose Sepp Blatter is re-elected tomorrow. Would that be the point?
No, I'm not convinced that it is. I mean, they know Sepp Blatter, they know him over many years, they know what kind of a man he is. Nothing that came out in the indictment yesterday was really big news to anybody who follows football, and so Coke and Visa could have taken that action many times before and have balked at it. So no, I think if he's re-elected, I think they will reevaluate, they will question, they will make public statements, but I think they're likely to stick with FIFA.
So, Mr. Lightfoot, I mean, what that means is, in spite of the contempt for the organisation widespread in major markets in Europe and North America, these organisations still think it's to their benefit to be associated with the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, they've expressed their concern, but ultimately it's the people's game, and I think that's going to be a really key factor in what they're trying to reach is the people in the game. So the question is, could you imagine the FIFA World Cup not happening? Probably no, in which case there's a huge audience there which is just going to lap it up. So there's an element of, is there some way, shape or form that you divorce the governance side of it with the actual competitive side of it? Ultimately no, but nonetheless the game is what they're really about, and that's what they've got to focus their efforts on.
Well, the game is what the sponsors are about? They're about selling the product, aren't they?
Yeah, but they're about an association with football, and through that, and that access to that audience.
I mean, we've already seen, Professor, haven't we, some pretty odd things happening, like there's a beer, Budweiser, sponsoring the Qatar Games, where beer drinking is not something widely encouraged.
That's right. Again, part of this is it's mostly about television. Mostly people consume the World Cup through watching it on TV, and those few weeks every 4 years are a credible magnet for exactly the people that these sponsors want to reach, and that's why they stick with it. And everything else, they can take a lot of pain elsewhere just to have that big hit every 4 years.
We have seen organisations involved in football. You've advised the FA in the past. I mean, it is an active possibility. You say, well, can we think of the World Cup not happening? I could think of UEFA, for example, pulling out the World Cup, but if it continues like this, can't you?
I don't think so. No, I think they've already said, and a lot of people are beginning to voice, look, it is the people's game, that's what people are about, this will happen, and what would it really achieve? I mean, it'd be a sort of vote of protest rather than an active development. What really needs to be fixed is what everyone's talking about. There needs to be that root and branch change in culture and structure and approach towards the game. And you've got to look at people like Thomas Bach and Brian Cookson and various others who are already taking up strong change cultures. Now, if Blatter's re-elected, the question is, can he then really introduce systemic change credibly with authenticity and actually pull that through, say, within 1-2 years? Otherwise he's going to leave under this cloud and no one's going to believe it's ever gone away. If he's not, well then again there's that opportunity for root and branch change.
What do you think, Professor? I mean, because UEFA is really world football. I mean, the best teams all come from Europe, with perhaps Brazil as an exception. I mean, if they pulled out, the World Cup would be rubbish, wouldn't it? So why don't they do it?
Well, it would be, but one thing is, Russia is part of UEFA for a start, so they're not going to want to pull out of their World Cup. That's not going to happen.
All the others pulled out.
I think there are many associations, many other associations in Europe that have strong connections to Blatter, maybe not the Northwest European ones, but maybe some of the other ones who wouldn't want to walk away from him. And do they really want to be seen, do the Europeans want to be seen to be the ones who tear the game apart?
I mean, this is an extraordinary situation. We have a so-called people's game costing the people a lot of money and apparently, riven with moral turpitude, if I could put it like that.
Well, there's a big sports as a whole is at a crossroads. What you've got is you've got old style governance coming through, volunteers, committees, all that sort of structure, and then you've got big money coming in. So it's reached a point where arguably the business is a lot bigger than the structure can handle right now. And this is one of the sports is at that point where the old governance structures need to move towards much more savvy business practices, much better regulation, self-regulation, self-management to make sure that they're doing business arguably as professional as the players are on the field of play. You know, making sure that they're putting you've got the best executives, the best players, the best advice and the best systems all the way through, because you're dealing with billions of dollars here. And you know, if you don't have that experience in business, then is there not a question of whether there's bound to be the odd fallout here and there?